Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan. Excited today because we are doing our second series of my bottle versus your bottle. So this time around, it's all finished bourbons, and it's the same setup as last time, more or less. So last time was the first time we ever tried this, where I put my bottle up. It was the old Overholt, and I said, you don't have a rye on your shelf that can beat mine. And a bunch of our Patreon supporters sent in samples from some of their straight ryes on their shelves. And lo and behold, we had a competition where it's all blind, and at the end of the blind, the one rye left standing was in fact mine. So this time we're going to see if you guys can take down my bottle. Last time I came out victorious. This time around it's finished bourbons, like I said. Let me show you the bottle that I selected. So I selected for my finished bourbon Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend Batch 205 specifically, which is phenomenal to me, and it has historically done extremely well in blinds up against other bourbons. So this was the one that I said, I don't think you've got a finished bourbon on your shelf that can beat mine in a blind. So we're gonna get to this one, but first we have to take the 10 samples that were sent in and whittle it down to 4, so that I can then take those 4 and put them up against mine in the final showdown, in the final blind. So this will be a 3-video series. Video number 1 right now, I have no idea which ones these are. I don't even know who sent them in, but my wife has poured 5 of the samples out of the 10 that were sent in. She has poured 5 of them. My job today is to taste all of them, and then I will select my 2 favorite finished bourbons from this batch. And then I'll do it again with the next 5 tomorrow. I'll select my 2 favorites from those. Then we'll take those 4 total and put them up against my bottle in the final video. Sound good? Now, if someone manages to take my bottle down in that final video, we will send you a prize that basically is a like a token that says you took down Dramguard's bottle. Sound good? I'm excited. I feel like I'm gonna get spoiled here. Now, let me just say, the criteria here specifically is very simple. In order to be selected, I'm picking the one that I like the taste of it the most. I'm trusting that you guys have met the criteria to send in the samples, that it actually fits the bill as a finished bourbon. So I'm not gonna get too analytical about all the details about these samples that we're sending. I'm just gonna pick the 2 today that I like the most. We will start with glass A. My wife poured all of these. She's got a whole spreadsheet. So it's like 3 layers of anonymity. So if I wanted to know what these bottles specifically were, I'd have to go back several steps to find out. So she's keeping me very well in the dark here. Sample, it fell right off. Yeah, I should have known that was gonna happen. Sample A. Let's get in here on the nose first and foremost. On the nose, the first 2 things that really come to mind here are figs and leather. I grew up in a missionary family. My parents specifically were the only ones on my dad's side of the family that were not out in the mission field in some capacity. So a lot of times when I got together with my family, it was when they were back on furlough. And so I had family members in Indonesia, Russia, Cambodia, just all over the place, right? And so because of that, I always got to try lots of foods and cuisines of completely different cultures while I was growing up. And my grandparents specifically had spent a lot of time in Eastern Europe. And so my grandmother would make a lot of times like fig-based pastry desserts, like honey and fig. So anytime I get a figgy note, it kind of takes me back. And I think of flaky, like phyllo dough and figs and honey. And this is a little figgy to me. I think of figgy, I think of, I noted the leather and also a nice hint of vanilla as well. Let's try it. Cheers. But yeah, those sweet figs and dates, those dried dark fruits, you know what I mean? Are they technically fruits or are they technically drupes? I'm looking it up. Figs are commonly called fruit, but they're technically an infructescence. What the heck is an infructescence? That's not a real word. That's just a big fancy word. It's a type of multiple fruit. Okay. It's a fruit. Scientists out here making up words. I'm also getting this really nice baking spice note. Lots of cinnamon and a little spicy. All right, well, A coming out making a pretty good first impression. I like that a lot. I like a lot of dark, rich, sweet notes. So this is gonna be our baseline moving forward. Let's go on to B. Okay, glass B. Nose on this one's very different. More bright and tropical on the nose. I think of like honey and mango. I love using mangoes because they're really easy to, scrape the flesh of the fruit out and then boil it down to a nice mango syrup for things like margaritas for my wife. So I like to work with mango quite a bit. And I think honey and mango on the nose of this. You could tell me this was like a mead barrel finish of some kind on the nose, I would believe you. But let's see how the palate is. Cheers. This has some good funk to it. Yeah, I think of like maple syrup. It does keep that honey note for sure. And you could tell me that there was some form of Amberana, influence in here, and I would believe you. Maybe not like the whole thing was finished in Amberana, but maybe part of the blend was. I could definitely see that. Yeah, sweet cinnamons and maples. That's pretty good. Let's move on to C. All right, glass C. Kind of rolling it around a bit, checking the viscosity. The nose of this is much more oak forward. A gentle cinnamon, but lots of vanilla bean. Lightly toasted marshmallow. A nice sweet graham note. Put a little chocolate in here, you got a s'mores. With the toasted marshmallow and graham in here. I like that nose quite a bit. Let's try it. Cheers. It kept almost everything from the nose. The vanilla is a little bit more tamed down. Everything else is still there. But there's the introduction of sort of this, white grapey note. Almost tastes like a Riesling. You know what I mean? Got a bit of a Riesling vibe to it. Slightly sweet, slightly tannic white grape. Going in for a second sip there, it almost got a little bit richer. It almost feels like it has a little bit more base on the second sip. I'm in trouble, y'all, because all these are pretty good today. Yeah, that's pretty stinking good. I like it. Let's move on. Glass D. Look at the color of this. This is so dark. Holy cow, man. Good glory. Sweet tobacco on the nose. Caramelized sugars, maybe slightly burnt a little bit, almost like the brulee on top of a creme brulee, that crunchy, sugary crust on top of it, and some Ghirardelli dark chocolate brownies. This one's kind of assertive on the nose. It's bringing a lot. Let's get in on it. Cheers. Holy crap, man. Man, this is like thick and rich right up front. And then like late towards the finish, it starts to ease up off the gas and just gives you some kid gloves of sweetness. There's a note in here I'm going to refer to, and I hope it doesn't sound off-putting. Before I get to it, let me note that right up front of the sip of this, it's like these rich potpourris, almost like you walked into like a small boutique in an old-timey little small town, sort of a shop vibe, and those potpourri scents are in the air. It's got that thick, sweet, floral note about it. It hits you with that sweet tobacco up front, and then it dials off the gas a bit and leaves me with almost sort of like this bubblegum sweetness with seasoned oak on the tail end. But there's a note in here that's like the crescendo, and I hope it doesn't sound weird, but it gives me Gulf Coast briny, like sea air notes. Like Gulf of Mexico, briny sea scent in the air, but in the form of a flavor that is the crescendo of the palate here. I spent a lot of time in coastal towns growing up. My parents were like in love with the Gulf Coast of Florida. So we spent a lot of time like Sarasota, Siesta Key, that whole area. And a lot of times we'd like rent a condo there and spend a couple of weeks there. Have a couple of days where we drive even further south. We go down Turtle Beach and go way down to the Keys, all that kind of stuff. So I'm very familiar with that briny coastal town air. And I just get smacked with it on this. I like it. That is super unique. Let's move on to the last one. Glass E, last one for the day. I have a feeling y'all are spoiling me. I can't wait to see what these have been. So for these video series, usually what I do, I've only done one of these so far. But what I did last time was I recorded all of the videos and then I went back and edited them. That way I wouldn't be editing the first video before I had gone to the conclusion of it because I didn't want to spoil anything for myself. And of course, when I edit the videos, I make sure that the bottles are on screen for you guys with all the information that you might want to know about those bottles. So I have to wait till the whole competition is over to then go back to the first video and edit them in sequence. So I'm anxious to get this one done and move on to the next set and then move on to the final ones just so I can find out what these were. Because I won't know today. I'm no lightweight, but I ain't doing 10 finished bourbons in a single day. All right, Glass E here on the nose is giving me some like nutty pastry notes. I think of sweet walnuts, some brown sugar, flaky pastry dough. I mean, you could tell me we had like some Mizunara oak or something like that going on in here. I'd believe you. Let's get in on it. Cheers. I'm getting some of that same like fig and cognac notes I was getting on the first glass today. You know, those fortified wine notes, even like a vermouthy sort of a note on it. Almost reminds me of like a Manhattan, the way a Manhattan sits on the back of your palate after you've drank it, which I'm a sucker for a good Manhattan. Yeah, it's got that vermouthy funk to it, which I like. I would not be surprised if at least 4 of the 5 today were wine cask finishes of some kind. I'm getting lots of like cognac, even port notes. The hard thing is, a lot of these are hitting some of the same notes that the Joseph Magnus cigar blend hits. You know, figgy cognac notes, leathers and tobaccos. So being able to like even pick that out of the lineup might be a challenge for me come the third and final video. Very tasty, thank you. Now comes the difficult part. I liked all these, but I gotta pick 2 specifically to pull out and say these ones are moving on. That's gonna be the challenging part for me. So I may go have a seat, do some deliberation, and sip through some of these again before I finalize which 2 I'm gonna take forward. Sound good? Okay, this was not easy at all, but I have selected the 2 that I would like to take forward. I think all of these were really good. I would be happy to have absolutely all of these on my shelf. There wasn't a single pour today that I thought to myself, man, I don't think I like that one. None of them immediately popped out as that one's not moving forward. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have that, you taste something, you're like, well, that's definitely not for me. I don't think that one's going to move forward. None of them were like that today. I had to revisit all of these. None of them were a quick and easy out. But the 2 that I'm going to take forward after careful deliberation are going to be glasses D. So D was the one that we said we got sweet tobacco, some brulee notes, even brownie on the nose, and it had that briny sea air quality about it as the crescendo of the palate. That one was so unique. It tasted good. I enjoyed what was distinct about it enough to say I think I'd like to taste that again in the final round. So glass D, moving on. The other one is going to end up being, and this was not easy. I actually went back and forth between a couple of others. But my final selection is going to be glass E. We said we got sweet walnuts, pastry, brown sugar, some of those cognac vibes. It was really similar to glass A, and that was what was really hard about it too. But then I was also like deliberating, maybe I'm in the mood for something more Riesling-y, which glass C was getting, I don't even know. But my final selection for today, the one that I just liked more today, was glass E. So glasses D and E get to move on, and we'll see them go head-to-head in the final video against my Joseph Magnus, I can speak. Sorry, I've had a lot of whiskey. Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend Batch 205, as well as the 2 winners from the next video. So again, we'll have 5 fresh finished bourbons in the next video. Again, we'll blind them all. We'll whittle it down to the 2 that we want to move forward. So then we'll have 4 total winners, including D and E from today, and whichever 2 win tomorrow, they'll go head-to-head with my bottle right there. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much, those of you who sent in samples so that we could do this. I really appreciate you guys and your generosity. It's a lot of fun to be able to get samples and tastes from your shelf and what you're liking and what you're enjoying as well. You should totally get involved in our Patreon community. Actually, this week, the spreadsheet should go up for registration for our next bottle share event, which will be a lot of fun. You basically send out samples from 1 bottle, and then you receive samples from like a dozen bottles. So you get to try a lot of whiskey for the price of 1 bottle that you're divvying up and sending out to the other guys. Well, guys and gals, because we've got guys and gals in our community. That one's for our Patreon supporters. If you want to get involved in the Patreon group, the base tier is $1. So it's very non-committal in that capacity. And it just goes to help fund the bottles that we get to pick up and review here on the channel to keep more content pumping out and enjoying growing our community together. So we have that event. We also have a virtual tasting event that's coming up this fall as well. So we'll get registration for that event out soon as well. You're basically gonna I think it's gonna end up being less than $20 a person, because all you're having to do is cover the cost of shipping, but basically straight from a distributor rep, you're gonna be getting samples from a ton of different whiskeys, lots of different brands and types, all sent to you basically for free. All you're doing is paying the shipping costs. And then that rep is going to sit in on a call with our community and walk us through these whiskeys, who made them, what their vision is like, what the goal of the juice was, all that stuff. It's going to be really fun. So we like to do stuff like this, and we can only do it because of your support. If you want to check out our community, the link to the Discord is in the description, totally free to get involved, introduce yourself, and meet our wonderful folks. With that, I say cheers, my friends. May you live richly. This was not, by the way, one of the samples from today. This is for a different video because it says Michter's on it. Otherwise, I would ruin the blind. Anyways, Be warm and well fed. That's what I say on my other channel. No, on this one we say, may you live richly and get better with age. And I hope to catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.